All right, people. I've got Jonno, very happy looking Jonno. Yesterday was all England. How are you feeling?
Very, very happy. It's finally happened, Harry. Cousin Zach finally has an Ashes century.
Yeah, what a century that was. 189 is a big century, almost double 100 and almost at run a ball. Actually, better than run a ball.
It's better than run a ball.
So is it going to be now Zach ball?
Yeah. The way he was hitting them yesterday, I will admit that the first 50 runs, there were some streaky shots in there off the inside edge, running past Carey. But once he got to his 50, it started hitting it a lot cleaner. Once he got to his hundreds, everything was coming out of the middle of the bat. And he had Joe Root with him, who was just ticking over as well. And yeah, it's finally happened for Zach Crawley in this series. If we'd done a video on the first day, and I've been away, so that's why we weren't able to, I was going to point out that Zach Crawley has a better average than Steve Smith and Marnus Labuschagne so far in the series over the 3 games. So he's had a quietly good, I think he was averaging 40 odds in the series. So he's actually been quite solid at the top, but he hasn't converted. And yesterday he finally did. Faster than a runner ball. And that's exactly why he's in the side. So many people have called for him to be dropped over the last couple of years. But Stokes and McCullum know that with him as an opener, with Duckett at the other end, they won't come off every time. But when they do, like yesterday, like at Lords as well, in that 4th innings, the England middle order can come in with a very well-established base. And for the first time in a long time, Zach Crawley has hit a potentially match-winning innings, obviously depending on how the weather goes.
So the English team obviously persisted with Zach Crawley. And yeah, even as an outsider, I was like, okay, yes, maybe he's a hit and miss kind of player. He's going to get some runs, maybe not. It's like a David Warner at the top, but obviously he's proven everyone wrong because that 189 single-handedly has put England in the box seat. So England are 60 runs ahead, and that has definitely turned the game on its head. And now all of a sudden, Australia are looking totally helpless and clueless. The very first ball, Mitch Starc bowled. I think he gloved it down the leg side and went past Carey. Oh, okay, all right, here we go again. Zach Crawley's going to play these shots, and then he's not going to stay there for long. 189, England in box seat, and England are 67 runs ahead already. And this is going to be day 3. So I don't know. What did WinViz say? It said something like
has Australia at 1% chance of winning the game.
Yeah, wow.
I think a draw was at 30, England at something like 60 odds.
So for the first time, I felt that Pat Cummins' defensive, non-aggressive, non-Australian way of captaincy has paid the price for the very first time, because Australia was just helpless. Conceding that many runs in only one day's play, that's a lot. Even Australia themselves scored at a pretty decent rate. I think 3.5 at the end. Yeah. It ended up being 3.5 or 3.7, which is very good. But what did England score at? They've been going at 5.3. 5.3 over such a long period of time. So that tells you something, that as a captain, Pat Cummins probably failed. Now, I watched it in bits and pieces here and there. So obviously you being a fan. So tell me, what are your thoughts about Pat Cummins' captaincy?
Yeah, what we've seen so far this series is, Cummins' defensive captaincy, particularly with field settings. But then when it comes to what people are calling Bazball, England haven't really hit that sort of top level Bazball that they want to be playing. Like, there's been good individual performances. In particular, I'm thinking of Stokes in the second and third tests. But there hasn't been a sustained long period of high-scoring, fast-scoring cricket. So when England had that day they had yesterday, they're scoring at 5.5 and over, Pat Cummins looked for the entire 73 overs. Pat Cummins just looked lost. He was playing chase the ball. He was moving fielders between balls. I think one of his overs that he was bowling, he moved the field 5 times, which is just unheard of outside of park cricket. It looked completely like they were lost at sea. Steve Smith was trying to get involved and do things, but because Pat Cummins was the other side of the field, you could just see Smith waving. He looked a bit lost. And I think he is completely knackered. Like, he's bowled more overs than any Australian bowler in this series. Obviously, with the weight of captaincy on him as well, that's going to take a toll. And no matter what plan he went with yesterday, it didn't come off. And I think a good example of just how wrong he went yesterday, when Zach Crawley was playing and missing a few early on during the day, and he was inside edging, he's got Mitch Marsh on the field. And 2 weeks ago, Mitch Marsh nicked him off twice. He got him out twice, Headingley. Why not bowl Mitch Marsh? He didn't bowl Mitch Marsh until Zach Crawley was well past his century. And that's just bad captaincy. So, yeah, it's by far the worst day of the Ashes for the Australians and Pat Cummins in particular. And it reminds me of some of the questionable decisions he was making during the India series earlier in the year.
Okay, so as you said, that Cummins with all this weight of captaincy, him bowling the most number of overs, I think he bowled 16 overs, none for 93, and it was the most expensive bowler, 5.81, which is obviously way below his standards. He's arguably the best running bowler at the moment. Captaincy, he failed. And again, usually that happens when there is a player at the other end playing exceptionally well, like Zach Crawley, especially when you're scoring that many runs and better than run a ball. It's a downward spiral. Everything you do, it backfires and it gets even worse and worse. So kudos to Zach Crawley. But he wasn't the only champion in that batting lineup. Moeen Ali came at number 3 straight after Ben Duckett. I was like, oh, Moeen Ali, come on. I'm sorry, no disrespect to him, but I have never seen him fire up. I know England team rate him very highly, probably because he's always played this very aggressive brand of cricket, but I have never feared him as an opponent. I've always said he's going to be a cheap wicket. But he scored a 50. Again, very quick 550 by Test match standards, not by his standards, 82 balls 50. And also Joe Root, 95 ball 84, missed out on 100. So obviously both of those guys complemented Zach Crawley's 189. And as a result, England went past Australia's score in no time. What do you have to say about those two?
Yes, let's start with Mo. Batting at 3, it's just strange. And his whole Test career, he was messed around by the England management. First, he was batting at 6 as an all-rounder. Then he was down batting at 8 as a bowler who could bat. Then he was up the order sometimes at 3 or 4. And he was messed around throughout his entire England career, particularly during the Alistair Cook years. Just racking my brain here, but I don't think he's ever had a good series against Australia. In particular, 17-18, he got absolutely taken to the cleaners. Yeah, for him to come out of 3 and play with freedom, there was a cover drive he hit, which was probably, until Zach Crawley got really going, was probably the shot of the day. I think it was off Cummins. And you could just see him laughing to himself, and he realised that was straight off the middle of the bat. That was perfect. And yeah, it was Khawaja who caught him mid-wicket, which was a really amazing catch. I don't think anyone quite realised Khawaja had taken it, because Moeen actually middled that ball really hard. Cummins had put him down in the exact same spot the over before. Yeah, so I'll be disappointed that he couldn't kick on a bit further, but the strike rate that he was batting with Zach Crawley at the other end, yeah, really helped those two get going. And then you have Joe Root come in, who I think off his first 4 balls was on 8 because he hit 2 4s, and he didn't really let that pace drop. He kept up with Zach Crawley, let Zach Crawley hit the big 6s, but Joe Root was there again with the reverse paddle scoop over the slips and gully. It was a really fun innings to watch. Yeah, it's a shame we didn't get to the hundreds, but I think he would have enjoyed that, as did everyone in the crowd. It was the sort of the new version of Joe Root we saw yesterday, not the sort of when Joe Root was captain, coming in at 8 for 2 and playing sort of batting all day, scoring sort of a strike rate of 50. We saw a fast scoring Joe Root that he enjoys playing his shots more under the Stokes captaincy.
You spoke about Joe Root as a captain finding himself 2 down for 8 or 9. But what a good position that is for someone like Ben Stokes to come in at 5 for 300. So he's batting at what? 20 odd, 20, 25 odd or something. Then the stage is set for Ben Stokes, and he's
Harry
got
Brooks with him.
All the licenses to kill as one can ask for. Just the third day, with a bit of a cloud looming or the threat of rain looming. So that gives him another license to go after the Aussie bowlers, that we got to get as many runs as possible. So I reckon today's day is going to be the most exciting day of cricket. If you are an English fan, what do you have to say to that? How's Ben Stokes going to play?
I'm guessing you haven't looked at the forecast in the last couple of hours.
I haven't.
No, so there's a lot of rain due this morning in Manchester. I think it might be actually raining there now. Tomorrow, the fourth day, looks like an absolute washout on the forecast, and Sunday doesn't look too much better. So England are in a real quandary now. And actually, what was interesting about when Stokes and Brook came into to the crease yesterday was actually they played sensibly. They didn't take any big risks. They just wanted to get through the stumps. With the weather around, I wonder if they might regret that decision to not get as many runs as they could. They both scored a strike rate around 50, I think. If they'd scored a strike rate of 100, there's an extra 40 odd runs there to be had in that last hour. So yeah, so the forecast for today doesn't look good. There should be some play at least after 1 o'clock, I would hope. So England, yeah, have got themselves a bit of a pickle because they're 60 odd runs ahead. They've got wickets in hand, but they have a limited time to get 10 Australian wickets and still win the game. They need to get more runs before they can win the game. Do they bat on? Do they declare, get Australia in and try and get the wickets now and worry about the batting later? It's really interesting. I think they will bat on. They will have an absolute party for an hour or two, try and get that lead up to 200, 250, and then go hell for leather if they can get on the field on a Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah, that obviously changes it. But was it the second test or the third test? They were saying that the rain is going to really destroy the test match, but it didn't.
Yeah.
As you said, today is going to be raining for at least half a day. And then Sunday looks washout. And then the next day doesn't look that good either. So I'm sure at some point, because England are in such comfortable position, as you said, I reckon they should go hammer and tongs. And then they should try to get a lead of 100, 150. And then, I don't know, then try to get Australia out. With that kind of lead, with being that much in front of the Aussies, I reckon that would fast track Australia's downfall. That's what I think. At least that's what he should do. But yeah, you're right. With rain expected and threatening the match, that's going to be very interesting. Any last words before we wrap up?
Yeah, I just want to go back to Zach Crawley quickly and just highlight his second 50 was brought up off 26 balls, which were 26 very highly enjoyable balls. Mitch Starc picked up an injury on his shoulder. I haven't heard anything on the interwebs yet, but I'm not sure he's going to be bowling again in this match. There was a point where he fielded and he went to throw it back in overarm, but it hurt so much they had to run it in, underarm it, and he ran straight off the field. So, yeah, Australia potentially another bowler down, having lost Lyon already. They have Scott Boland in reserve. Michael Neese is in the country as well for the fifth test. It may depend on what happens with this match. If the rain does save Australia and they have retained the end, potentially they'll have a bit more license to tinker with the lineup, knowing that at the moment the Australians are completely cooked. Like, they've looked terrible for the last 2 days. They might want to make some bigger changes than just switching Starc out. Murphy should be playing. Australia saw yesterday just how much they needed the spinner, and Travis Head got absolutely destroyed, and rightly, because he's not a great bowler, especially on English surfaces. I know he got wickets in Sri Lanka last year, and I think you've got some against India as well, but he shouldn't be sort of bowled almost as a frontline spinner in English conditions.
This is why the Ashes is one of the hardest for test series, because 5 test matches in a foreign country for such a long period of time, even though now they've condensed them really close together. But still, this is what happens in these long tours. Players break down, they get hurt, they get injured, and then everything starts falling apart. Australia did have an advantage where Australia was 2 tests up, but I don't know. Only the rain gods can save Australia now. But that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. We'll probably be back later on during the course of this test match. Until then, bye-bye.